peg at the moment. I've just noticed the carp literally top out in front of us. But that's what they do on days like this. They'll be out there in the lake, and then when they want to feed, they will come into the edge. And this can be your best chance of catching a couple of big fish late on. So, drop my rig in. Now at the moment I'm just trying to work out if there's carp there or roach. No, that's a carp. They're so crafty in terms of sneaking in the peg. But where we've got that depth, right, and hopefully by feeding away from where we're going to fish, we shouldn't suffer foul hooking them. Now what will happen when you have hooked a few, the peg will calm down, because this is the whole point about priming it in terms of the way that we've primed it, to get them coming to that bait. So what we've been doing is basically like feeding them up, so they're so confident that we drop in and we can catch them nice and fast. And also they take the bait nice and confident. And this is when getting your timing right in terms of when you go on it, you want to make sure they're nice and confident where possible to be able to go in and catch them. But that one come out of the peg nicely. Now they are big fish here, so I shouldn't have to have my pole, but it's still there. But hopefully with this grey, such a nice soft elastic, so when I hooked it, it come out of the peg. There's a little bit of a bow wave, but there's not loads of commotion, so that fish come out, and then hopefully any fish that are there will stay loitering around. So then when we get this one in, we should be able to put our bait. Now this next time when I feed, I might feed just corn, just to try. The micros have done their job in terms of they've got the fish in the peg, but when they are in the peg, because of how deep it is here, it's 3 foot, I might be better off just feeding some corn on our next feed. That's what I'm thinking. If they're not coming in the peg, then feeding more micros would be better. But when they're coming in the peg like they were then, I think just feeding corn, and then if I don't get a sign, I can always introduce a few more micros. And that's what's nice about fishing the way that we are fishing, is we can change our bait to suit what's coming in the peg and how they're coming in the peg. It's a nice big fish. Just keep your pole tip nice and low. In my match, what we're saying is I had one that was literally, with 10 minutes to go, it was £15, and that took us from nowhere to winning the match. So what's important now that you are fishing it, although the clock is ticking away, once you've hooked one, don't be thinking, well, I want to catch another one. I know it's hard, but when they are big fish, the most important thing is to make them count. So there he is waddling. I couldn't, probably missed my opportunity then when it rolled up. Just that sun's blinding me a bit. This is the one thing, just like our rod and line fishing, keep your pole nice and low and you can almost lead them in, and it's making the most of that period when they come up. Whereas now he's come up, taking a mouthful of air as such, and we've got to start the process all over again. So when you are playing them, concentrate a little bit more than we are, but there's no rush for us today. So just keep it nice and low. Like, I always like holding my top kit a bit shorter because they come up so much closer, but just got to be very careful when you do it. Like, I'm not pulling too hard. Just keep it nice and low, and then hopefully this time when he pops up, he's just nodding away. It's not as close as I thought it was. Just take your time with them, they're such big fish. Last thing you want to do is do all of that hard work only to pull it too hard and lose it at the net. If we'd have concentrated a little bit more when he popped up a minute ago, we could have had him. Just keep your pole nice and low, almost pointing at it a little bit. Just let your elastic do the work. It's like anything, the harder you pull them, normally the harder they pull back. Just let the elastic do the work. But from what's happened in terms of we're priming it and thinking about, you know, our next fish, what I'm already thinking is next time I drop in, I'm going to feed a little bit further away than I just did then, but it was our first feed in terms of putting our rig on it. So I wanted to try and draw one close enough to our hook bait. But with the response that we got, I'm thinking next feed is going to be corn. I'm not going to feed any micros, and I'm going to feed a little bit further away than what I did do that time. And little things like where you feed your bait, when they're this big, hopefully when we get it out, you'll be able to see what I'm on about in terms of the size of them. This way you don't want to be feeding right on top of your float unless you've got that brick wall in terms of a bank where they cannot get behind your float. So, just nodding around in front of us. It's a little bit awkward today because the glare of the sun, it's really hard to see where he is. All I can just see is sort of bright water shining at me. Just release my elastic, he's pulling a bit. While this is pulling, maybe I could have used black, but I just love the way they leave the peg with this grey hydro. So nice. One thing that I found at Belingi when I was fishing my festivals there was weird. When I used black as such, they did just pull so hard, whereas when I was using my grey, like we had made that first opportunity of being able to net it. He's swimming off this one now. So I'm going to pop my landing net back down, because I might, if he runs off, I might just have to add my pole sections. Just start the process again. It's weird how some of them you will play for a little bit, and then others, they'll almost just waddle in. The most important thing is making every one of them count. Like if this were a match today, unless people caught like well on a waggler or on the pole, on Sunday's match it was so difficult, £53, catch two of these in the last sort of 10, 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it's going to give you a massive chance in terms of framing in the match. I found myself in this position so many times in a match where I'm looking and almost clock watching. I've been playing a fish for a while and end up losing it right at the net because I've been impatient. And what I find if I'm pulling too hard is I punish myself, and what I do is I just let all the elastic go and start again, reminding myself that I need to take my time, I need to make it count. So it's waddling about in front of us now. Normally once they've had a mouthful and they go on their second run, it just eventually they will just pop up. This one is probably a common. They do tend to fight harder than the mirrors. I'm not milking it, I promise. Just trying to make it count, get it in the net. Just keep nice steady pressure on it. Hopefully in a minute it'll pop up and it'll be ours. But this one just doesn't seem to want to play ball and come in at the moment, but we've done all the hard work, fed our bait, fed it where I feel like it's giving us the best chance of hooking it in the mouth. Should just pop up now. There he is, nice big common. He is a big fish. So hopefully we're winning the battle now. If I can get him in. There he is. He's ours. We got there eventually. It took us a while, but as you can see, that is a unit. Proper edge fish. Where he's hooked perfectly in the bottom of the mouth, which is lovely. Pop our rig down. Hopefully, because he's been knackered out, might be able to hold him up for you. I'll see if he'll let me. If he flips out, I'm just going to put him back because I don't want to drop him. Such a big fish. Get me. You can see there, an absolute unit, well over £10. Make sure I don't harm him. He's back in. So that on our Sundays, mate, I'm just gonna, because he fought so hard, there he goes, just make sure he goes back right, make sure he's kicking before I release him. And one of those, literally on our match on Sunday, was the difference between coming literally nowhere and winning the match. But I want to catch another one. So what we was talking about, this time I'm just going to